Hello, and welcome to our book study of Rise of the False Gods, How to Get Transformation Through Illumination. I don't know about you, but I sure want to look forward to every day being more and more transformed, which means life is going to get better and we'll have a deeper understanding and a closer relationship with God, and we'll stop making some of the mistakes that kind of cause us pain and suffering in our lives. For those of you who don't know me, I am Reverend Alicia Leslie. I am a Unity minister, and I wrote the book Rise of the False Gods. If you like what you see and you want to see more, please be sure to click subscribe when I post the YouTube version, which is going to be probably tomorrow because it's kind of late tonight. So tonight we are going to be looking at who or what is God. If you're following along in the book, this starts on page 11, so you'll want to look there. I also wanted to let you know, if you have any questions, please put them in the comment section. Sometimes you just want to say hello, let me know you're there. I don't always see the responses, but I can see if you make a comment, I can see it later. If you have a question, I can see it later. So I do thank you for joining me, and hope that whenever you're watching this, that you will find it brings meaning to your life and a new way of living. So, whereas we are looking tonight at who or what is God, some of us, based on the circumstances we currently have in our lives, are probably wondering, where is God? Where is God in this insanity that we're living in? Why is it that things seem to keep going, down and down and down? And man, I don't know about you, but I'm so tired of waiting. It's not like we're waiting for the other shoe to drop. It's like we're in a storm of shoes and hoping that something doesn't knock us on the head, for gosh sakes. So, where is God? God is where God always is, everywhere present. And if you're thinking that God should be, fixing our problems for us, guess what? God taught us how to fix our problems over and over again, and it is up to us to do the work that will lead to the change we want. So, how did you come to know God? How did you come to get an image of what God is? Did you get it from your parents, from Sunday school, from a priest or a minister, or did someone tell you there is no God? How did you receive that? Now, do feel free, put it in the comments if you want, so I can know how you first came to know and understand God. And did you believe it? Did you have a hard time believing it? When I was, most of my life, I was in the Catholic Church. And I remember when I was in kindergarten and I was getting ready for our first communion. I think back then we started studying in kindergarten and we actually had our first communion in first grade. In any event, I could not figure out how God could both love us and punish us. It's like, where does that come from? If it's a loving God, well, and I kind of held that thought for most of my life. But I went to church regularly. At one point in my life, I wanted to be a nun. Of course, people that would think about that in me would probably laugh because maybe I just didn't seem to be nun material. But eventually I kept going down my spiritual path, and over time my feeling about God has evolved. And when I found unity, which is the spiritual path it's my primary path, I finally said, oh, I got it now. Now I understand. For some of you, it would be very hard to take. You may not agree with me. So this is one of those times when I'm going to ask you to take a deep breath and kind of roll with it and roll it around in your mind. You don't have to take anything I say as gospel truth. Just roll with it, and we're going to let you think about how you see God. And know that you also can, in the back of the book, you don't have to have the book to do this series, but in the back of the book, you are going to find, it's called your credo, and your credo is what you believe, how you came to believe it, and do you still believe it, and why. It's very, very powerful. So let me get back to when I, my experience with God beyond kindergarten. And I'd like to say I left the Catholic Church when I was in my 40s, and I don't call myself a recovering Catholic because I still see value in the teaching. It may not be my primary path, and you don't have to follow somebody else's path. You have to follow your own path. So anyway, as far as my relationship with God, I one day was walking home from school when I was 12. Now, as a part of the Catholic tradition, what we were told to do is pray without ceasing. That's what it says in the Bible. So when I would walk home, I would do what they called aspirations. Aspirations were saying, thank you, God. Thank you for being in my life. God, take care of me. Lord, have mercy. Just those are little aspirations. The word aspirations means breaths. And so we were taking breaths of spirit. And I would also pray. And one of the prayers that I always prayed was what we call the Lord's Prayer, and what at one time was called, in the Catholic Church, they call it the Our Father. So I'm walking home from school. I can tell you right where I was. I could go back to that street on Lincoln Street where my elementary school was, and I could just probably go right to the spot where I heard it. It was like I realized Jesus said, "Our Father," not "my Father." And I thought, oh my gosh. And I thought of all the other things he said that supported that. And so from that time on, that was like one of my first awakenings about God. Then I came to Unity, and we talked about God as being spirit. Now, in the King James Version, it says, "For God is a spirit." But we look at it differently. They put in that A. That A wasn't there. Somewhere, a scribe that was doing the King James Version. And by the way, the King James Version is where the these and thys and thous and all those hard to understand words came from. Of course, we'd have a whole lot harder time trying to understand Aramaic and Hebrew and the stuff that was actually written in long after Jesus actually said the words, or the Bible was passed down orally by stories. So anyway, let's get back to God, and God is spirit. Now, that sounds so impersonal, doesn't it? God is spirit. Well, where is God? God is everywhere present. But God is, and okay, brace yourself. You're probably not going to like this. And So please don't just walk out on me because you don't like it. Right along with me, okay? God is principle. God is an energy. God is absolute, eternal, and unchanging principle. God is all good. Just like you have many definitions, you are a mother, you are a father, you are a son, you are a baker, you are a dentist, whatever you are, okay, you have many aspects to who you are, okay? So, as with God, God has many aspects. One of our primary teachings in unity is that there is one presence and one power in the universe and in our lives. God, the good, omnipotent. That God is all powerful. God is everywhere present. God is omniscient. God is all knowing. But it's not just that God is all knowing, God is all knowledge. We call God divine mind. Now, just because God is not a person doesn't mean we cannot have a personal relationship with God, because it is a matter of consciousness. We call God divine mind, the creator of all divine ideas. All ideas, actually. What we do with those ideas makes them divine or not so divine, as the case may be. Why? Because we have free will. So let me just go back. Okay, so I was telling you about my path and about how I found God, and that my path is unity. That doesn't mean your path has to be unity. You could be Catholic, you could be Pentecostal, you could be a Muslim, you could be today I went to the Tibetan store, and I was, looking at all the beautiful things and the sayings of the Dalai Lama. It's all good. It's all God. There are many, many aspects of the nature of God, and God has many names that we have given it. It says in Genesis that we were created in the image and likeness of God. But then, for all of our lifetimes, and probably for eons, we've been trying to make God into the image and likeness of a person, of a man, and when I say a man, I mean mankind. I don't mean a male, mankind. So we try to make God one of us, instead of what we're supposed to be doing is developing our spiritual nature to be the child of God that we already are. We say that we have a spark of divinity within us that is called Christ. It is the spark of divinity that makes us a child of God. Everybody's got a spark of divinity in them, whether they call it Christ or something else. We all have a name for God, and the word name means the nature of. So if you were going to name God, what would it be? In the Bible, when Moses said to God, "What is your name?" he said, "I am that I am." Now think about that. What do you think that means? I am that I am. The movie, The Moses Code, poses the point that try to imagine reading this. In the Bible, there was no punctuation, no paragraphs, and no separation between words. I mean, try to figure that out. But they said that perhaps there would have been a comma that it would have said when he said, "What is your name?" God said, "I am that. I am. I exist. I am." Each one of us is I am in our unique expression. So, you know what? It just amazes me. I bring out my book and I'm sitting here holding it in my hand while I go off in an entirely different direction. I mean, it's in here in the book, which is one of the reasons why it would probably be a good idea if you like what I'm talking about, if you want to know it, if you want to have the book so you can even do what I did, my own book, and I'm highlighting it because there are things I want to tell you. Meanwhile, I'm not even looking at it, okay? So having the book is great, especially with the exercises in the back. You can get it free if you are an Amazon member, Amazon Prime member. You can download it on Kindle for free. And if you don't, the Kindle's like $4.99 and whatever. Just if you want to give me your name and address, I'll send you a book. I won't even charge you for it if you promise me you'll read it and consider the words that I wrote. Okay. As I said before, I'm a metaphysician, and the word metaphysics means beyond what you see, beyond the manifestation. What is behind the manifestation? And we say that is divine mind, the mind of God, creator of all divine ideas. You're sitting on a chair, maybe a couch. I'm sitting on a couch. A couch started off as an idea. We receive that idea through the divine mind of God, and we don't create it. We manifest it. We develop it. We build it. Imagine when first the idea of chair came out. I don't want to sit on the ground. And so we open our minds to spirit, and we say, I know a better way. I'm going to make a chair. Then after a while, that chair's too hard, and we want something cushy. Then we like this decoration or that decoration, and that is how God works in our minds through the creative process, which is another story we're going to get to another day. We're still working on who or what is God. So the nature of God is love, law, truth, all good. Omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent, everywhere presence. There is nowhere we can go where God is not. And with that thought, I would like to share a wonderful little story that I am told came from the Quran. And it is a story about God talking to someone. God talks to people all the time, and so God is talking, and he says, he said, I have to hide all this wonderful truth in the world. I've got to hide it somewhere, but I don't know where to hide it, where man won't find it, because if he finds it, he's going to wreck it. So whoever he was talking to says, oh, I know. Why don't you hide it in the deepest part of the ocean? And God said, oh, no, I cannot hide that powerful truth there. The man will find a way to get down into the ocean and find it. So whoever was talking said, well, why don't you put it on the top of a mountain? And God said, no. The man will get to that mountain and he will find the truth and he will ruin it and spoil it. So then God got a great idea. I know where I am going to hide this great truth and divinity. And the person he was speaking to said, where? And he said, I'm going to put it inside of them. They'll never think to look there. And that's kind of like with Adam and Eve. It was like, don't touch that truth, that tree of the knowledge of good and evil. It was that's it. There's a truth there, and but they weren't ready for it. We weren't ready for it. We cannot. What was that movie? You can't handle the truth. I never saw the movie, but that line is so famous, everybody knows it. But the Bible says in Jeremiah 31:33, I will put my law within them. I will write it on their inner parts. Some people says heart. And that's where we get back to what we were talking about a couple of days ago about truth and understanding truth, where if I said to you 1 and 1 is 3, inside you go, that's not true. You see? And that we might call that our conscience, because when we are about to do something that is out of integrity with who we should be or want to be or can be, we get that tweak that it's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's a sign that maybe we shouldn't be doing what that is. So then God is referred to, well, Jesus is referred to in two ways: Son of Man and Son of God. And if we look at ourselves and talking about that spark of divinity within us, that the Son of Man part is our human part. We are spiritual beings having a human experience, okay? So Son of Man is the human part that is working on its transformation. The Son of God part is that inner knowing that there's more to us than meets the eye. That there is that spiritual part. It is an amazing part. It is a powerful part. It can change your life. It can change the world we live in. Do you want to get out of the muck and mire? Do you want to get out of the insanity of what's going on in this world? Do you want to be a change maker? You can. I promise you. If you consider the teachings I have to share with you, they're not mine. They're not mine. They're age-old truths that nobody owns. Nobody owns God, contrary to what we would like to think, that we're all meant to develop into the spiritual beings that we have the power and potential to be. Well, how do we connect with God? How do we talk to God? How do we communicate if God is not a being? If God is not a person, how do we communicate? First of all, we keep thinking we have to communicate with our physical part because that's how we communicate, right? We get thoughts, we talk, that's communication, isn't it? But it's not, because we are spiritual beings. We are beyond this body. There are things which we'll talk about later, intuition and sensing. We have an intuitive side and we have a sensing side, a side that feels things. We're going to talk about that more later. But so we have a mind. A mind is not a brain. The mind is actually the metaphysical part, the part that is beyond and behind the brain, okay? So since God is divine mind and we have a mind, how else do we talk to spirit? How else do we talk to God? We communicate with God through what is called prayer and inspiration. Now, when I say prayer and inspiration, let's not get into those these, thys, thous, that kind of stuff. Remember, that was the King James Version. Think of the way when they translated the words of Jesus when he said, our Father in heaven. Our Father, which is a part of that which is higher consciousness. We have an earthly Father and we have a spiritual Father. Now, then we can get into the whole gender identification. Why is God a he? Why does God have to be a he? Well, because we made God a he. God is androgynous. God has male energy and female energy, and God is I am that I am. So we communicate with God through prayer and meditation. Just how about if we just look at as talking to God? Okay? Prayer is when we talk to God. Meditation is when we listen for God to talk to us. Anybody can do this. Anybody, even me. I'm a type A. I have a very hard time moving and slowing down, which is why I pray in the morning, because I'm already a little slowed down when I first wake up. So it's easier for me to meditate and to pray and to let go of my stuff and to give my attention to something that is higher, okay? So you can talk to God, and you don't have to be able to have a formal prayer. You don't need to use a single thee, thy, thou art, because words are another thing. We communicate with words. When we get to the point where we're working more from our spiritual part, the words are going to be so not good. It's just like, you know how we do a lot of texting and stuff, so people are very focused on, you cannot rightly understand a text or even email because someone might use all caps and you think they're mad and they're not mad. They just can't see the little case letters. Too much can be misinterpreted. It's very important why we want to connect with our mind, with our spiritual nature, and our mind should control our brain, which controls our body. And that's where we are for tonight. I hope this stimulated some questions. I hope you will share them. Doesn't matter whether it's now while I'm doing it live or later. If you came in late, in a few minutes, you're going to be able to start over back at the beginning again. So tonight we looked at who or what is God. Tomorrow, oh, wait a minute. What is today anyway? Is today Thursday? You know what? Tomorrow is, Lord have mercy. Somebody tell me. Somebody tell me, what day is it? God. Let's see. It is August 27th. It does not tell me what day. 28? So today's Thursday. Okay. You thought I made a lot of sense? I'm not making a lot of sense right now. Okay, so Thursday, I was not going to do one on Friday, but I decided to shift my thing. I'm going to do one on Friday, and I'm going to be off Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Ta-da! So there. So, thank you, Diane. You are always there to help me figure out what I'm... Now everybody's telling me it's Thursday. Okay. All right. Thanks for being with me. I love you. I bless you. I treasure you, and I behold the divinity in you. Have a great night, and I hope we'll be getting together tomorrow night. If you have any questions, pop them in there. We can answer them then. Or I'm still trying to get a messenger thing going. I gave up on Zoom. That's too complex. It's not too complex for me to do. It's too complex for me to try to start. No. So, have a good night. God bless you. Good. Bye-bye.